of the Pen with LaWanna Bradford, expanding the impact and influence of authors from around the world. If you want to change the world, pick up your pen and write, said Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Books are uniquely portable magic. Power of the Pen spotlights authors from around the world. Listen as authors share messages that educate, motivate, inspire, and entertain. Join us each Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern on e360tv.com.
Happy Sunday, everyone. LaWanna Bradford here, your host for a special edition of Power of the Pen. It is October. It is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And today we have a very special book that we are going to cover, a book that was written by Delphyne Lomax. This book is entitled, it's a long title, but it's pretty profound. It's called Woman to Woman: Life Lessons Learned on the Journey to Marriage, Motherhood, Entrepreneurship, Divorce, Surviving Breast Cancer, and Finding Love. Delphyne Lomax is a personal friend of mine. We've met, I think probably 20 years ago. We've worked together as entrepreneurs. She is a very dominant entrepreneur in the market research space. With her company, VNL Research, they do market research for major companies, including government agencies all over the U.S. And she has seen much success in her life journey in business, but she had both a financial, a personal, and a health crisis. And her book is designed to take you through this dynamic journey of hers in hopes that she inspires other people to be able to rise up, to tap into their resilience, and to overcome anything that is standing in your way. I want to read you an excerpt of her book before we really dive into it. Last week, I gave you some highlights on some of the things that she was discussing in her book. But today we're going to focus particularly on her conversation around breast cancer awareness and how she discovered that she had breast cancer and the migration of that journey to recovery. She states, "This book was inspired by my life experiences and those of countless women of all ages, races, and socioeconomic backgrounds. We're all susceptible to various forms of cancer. We all desire opportunities to grow personally and professionally. And we all need a loving circle of support. This book then seeks to engage readers in a conversation about such pertinent topics as marriage, being a mother, divorce, finding new love, discovering one's life's purpose, entrepreneurship, and because I'm a breast cancer survivor, increasing awareness of the importance of getting yearly mammograms. This is essential because early detection is one of the key factors in surviving breast cancer." The additional inspiration for writing this book was turning 60. For months leading up to my 60th birthday, I could feel internal psychological and emotional shifts taking place. Although I'm now 62, over the last few years, I could feel myself moving to peace, with the full realization and acceptance that without my various life experiences, I would not be the person I am today. And I'd like to just pause right there and just ask you to reflect on your life and your life's experiences. How, when the ash and trash happens, we don't want to go through it, right? But when we come out of it, when we're able to be resilient, we're able to look back and see as she says, there was a blessing in this. There was a reason for this, for the journey that she had. And again, I'm talking about all of the things that happened. I interviewed Delphyne right before the release of this book a couple years ago. And what I want to do, instead of going in and reading excerpt by excerpt, even though there's going to be one piece that I will pause and read, I want you to hear her words from this book on Woman to Woman, and how I hope that through this story, through her story, that you will be encouraged, you will be inspired, you will do what you need to do to take care of you, to ensure that you live a vibrant, well life as best as you possibly can, and that you show up in support for those who may be going through life storms. So with that, let's hear from Delphine. And I love that, because I always tell people, life is happening now, right? We don't know what tomorrow may bring, and it's not even promised. So if you can just celebrate, each moment for what it is, then I think life is that much more. A friend of mine, Wendy Watkins, she says, delicious.
And you know what? And I have to share this because, you think, and I do have a chapter in my book about that, like, why me? And it's almost like, well, why not me? Because I'll tell you what, my sister lives in Ohio. We have no history. We've had like third cousins who've had breast cancer, but no immediate family member, not my mom or anyone on my dad's side. But my sister, when I was going through my journey, say I was diagnosed in October, but when I had my surgery, went through my surgeries and things in February of the following year, I asked my sister, I said, when was the last time you had a mammogram? And she had to think about it. I've been meaning to get one. I've been meaning, maybe 1 or 2 years past. Don't you know? I said, Lisa, get a mammogram. And so she went to she went ahead right away, scheduled it, got a mammogram. She calls me back and said, are you sitting down? And I'm like, what? She was diagnosed with breast cancer. And totally different. So she ended up having a lumpectomy but we went through the journey together. So she's in Ohio, I'm here. And so she always says that I saved her life, because after her breast cancer diagnosis, she ends up with thyroid cancer, which sometimes, I don't know, I've heard this, she said it was a correlation or something. She probably had the thyroid cancer before the breast cancer, but she says, girl, you saved my life, because I don't know if she would have got around to it, to get her to have her mammogram, but we went through our chemo radiation during that year, 2014.
Wow. It's so important, as you mentioned, to do the right thing, be proactive, get the mammogram. And I know people get scared, but also to know your body, doing those self-checks. And for me, my first mammogram was, and I wasn't even due to start having a mammogram. But you know how they bring the mobile vans to the corporate office. And I said, well, why not? Let's go see what this is all about. I was 35. I go there and I get a call the next day. We found something. I'm like, no, that's impossible. And I went, and they for me, they did a lumpectomy. It turned out to be benign. But that was very scary, because I was just doing it hey, why not? Let's just go and see. But the one thing that the physician said, and you'll definitely know this better than me, that even though something may be in a benign state, it can morph into something that is cancerous.
Yeah, and that's why they always say get your yearly mammogram, so you can have a baseline. And
I want to pause right there and just encourage you all to, both men and women, make sure you're doing your monthly self-checks, and women, sign up for your wellness exams. Get your monthly mammogram. You're going to hear me say that over and over again during this episode, but it is so important for us to lead the wellness charge of our lives. I want to take a quick breakaway and give you some tips on what you can do to ensure that you live your best life. And now we'll go back to the previous interview that I did with Delphyne Lomax Taylor as she talks about her breast cancer discovery.
I'm not the expert on breast cancer because there's so many different types. Everybody's breast tissues, you hear sometimes they talk about, oh, mine is dense or lumpy. Some people have that type of breast, but at least they have something to compare it to. So if you get them every year, if they notice a change, then they have something compare it to. So that's why I do strongly recommend. And you mentioned something about the comfort. Yes, you know what? It can be uncomfortable. And fortunately, the technicians, they've been it depends. Sometimes you can run across people who are just kind of, I don't want to say slap it up there, but they kind of just slap it up there and just, do. And then you have others who are gentle, but it really doesn't take long. And yep, it can be a little uncomfortable, but to me, that I can tolerate that uncomfortableness for just a little bit. It doesn't last long. It's not even like you're there for an hour, just a few moments.
Okay, well, I want to pause right there and I want to read another excerpt from her book, Woman to Woman. This is a book written by Delphyne Lomax Taylor, Woman to Woman, Life's Lessons Learned on the Journey to Marriage, Motherhood, Entrepreneurship, Divorce, Surviving Breast Cancer, and Finding New Love. And you can get this book on Amazon. I promise you, it's a well-written book. It's a well-written autobiography, and it just really pulls you into her story, but it's so relatable because we can all relate to some stage of this journey as a woman, right? Whether we are with our life partner, if we've had children, perhaps we've been in corporate and then we've moved into entrepreneurship. Maybe we've lost someone, whether it's through death or divorce, or then even faced a illness such as breast cancer. So it is a book, I believe, that no matter who you are and your background as a woman, you will find it very, very relatable and very inspiring. Delphine states, the story of my being diagnosed with breast cancer and then overcoming it could easily be told from the perspective of pain and suffering. Rather, since this is a book focused on encouraging women to have a conversation about sensitive and critical topics that they normally would not have, I'm taking the approach of an educator. Thus, my primary goal in this conversation on breast cancer is to educate and increase awareness. I want to pause right there, and it is so important. And we talk about changing the narrative and having a seat at the table, but we as women have to be willing to have those difficult conversations. We have to come from behind the mask and share our stories so that we can become empowered, that we can know that we're not in isolation, that we're not alone, that we can go arm in arm in sisterhood, girding each other up as we go through life's journey. But also the conversation helps us to educate and make aware the next generation. And that's what's so important, is that next generation. She says, I want to reach as many individuals as possible across the country and hopefully around the world who are unaware of the signs, symptoms, and preventative measures that can be taken in respect to breast cancer. In addition to educating and increasing awareness about breast cancer, I also want to inspire women who have been diagnosed with breast cancer to not give up, to not automatically take it as a death sentence. The statistics related to women and breast cancer are alarming and overwhelming. They are highly indicative of an urgent need to increase public awareness. For example, there's an estimated 1 in 8 U.S. women, that's about 12.4%, who will develop invasive breast cancer over the course of her lifetime. And then she states that she's not going to bombard us with statistics. She said, but what I believe is most important, or the heart of this book, is that I share with you what has been proven to be my formula for success, how I believe I am a survivor of breast cancer. Simply stated, there are a number of essential ingredients that have made it possible for me to have survived breast cancer for 7 years, and now it is 9 years, and to be living a vibrant and fully active life. And she goes through, and I'll just share three of the ingredients. She said essential ingredient number one, a strong relationship and belief in God. Delphine Lomax Taylor is a woman of faith. And she believes a belief that God will never leave you, a belief that God never fails, a belief that God has a purpose for our lives. And in my conversation with her, she talked about just holding on to that faith, holding on to that belief, no matter how dark some of the days got or how difficult the day was, that she just stayed anchored in that hope, in her truth. Essential ingredient number two, she says, a long list of family and friends who were right by my side every step of the way. And she talks about the importance of community and the importance of family. We're not meant to journey alone. It's important for any of you who are going through any challenges in life to reach out for support, to find that support group. If you can't find it in family, there are communities that are out there with individuals that are facing what you're going through or may have been able to overcome that. And they're there to support you. They're there to gird you up, to hold you up, to allow you to have a shoulder to cry on if that's what you need. And I just really want to pause right there for you to think about your support group. Who do you have around you? Who's in that inner circle? Who are the people that you can call upon? And then essential ingredient number three, she said, maintaining a mindset that was focused more on living than on dying. I want to say that again. Focused on a mindset that was focused more on living than on dying. I remember years ago when I was diagnosed with cancer, and it wasn't breast cancer, but I told a friend of mine about it, and I said, I'm trying to figure this out. This is rare. I don't know what it is. I don't know what to do. And he had gone through a very challenging, life-threatening illness. And he said, you have one of two choices. And it's similar to what Delphine just said. He said, you can choose to die living or to live dying. To die living or to live dying. And she says her mindset was focused more on living than on dying. So again, having a relationship with God, her faith was her essential ingredient. Number two, having that community of support around her to rally around her. And number three, having that mindset that was focused on living. And I want to pause right now and share with you our sponsor for today, Chemo Buddies for Life.
Life is so fragile, and we're constantly reminded just how fragile life can be, especially when we or a loved one is told we have cancer. Cancer survivor myself, I can tell you, we still feel very alone in this journey.
There's a study that's been showing that patients who are socially isolated have a worse prognosis, have a worse outcome than patients who are socially interconnected.
Buddies for Life is a non-profit cancer support group for those whose life has been impacted by cancer. We'll match you with the perfect buddy. Humor, hope, heart, and hugs.
Humor, hope, heart, hugs, and a whole lot of love.
We're offering you a free membership, so please sign up today. Share this with your friends and family, and support this community in every way you can. No one should face cancer alone.
I am a chemo buddy for life.
We are a buddies network.
No one does cancer alone.
Be a buddy.
And we are all here for you as a community of love.
We are Chemo Buddies for Life.
And if you've heard 3 words, you have cancer, for yourself or someone else, you belong with us at Chemo Buddies for Life.
Healing through connections.
I love the work that Tamara L. Hunter and her team is doing with Chemo Buddies for Life. And it goes back to what Delphine was saying, finding that your support group, your connection, and that's what Chemo Buddies for Life does. So if you are someone that's looking for more support, please reach out to Chemo Buddies for Life. That's cb4l.org, cb4l.org for more information. Now let's get back to what Delphine has to share with us.
And like I said, I mentioned, I'm sure you probably have viewers from all over. So I would but Susan G. Komen is all over. You could even probably Google Susan G. Komen. I think it's .org. And I think you can find like places that they may fund these mammograms. I'm not fund mammograms, because matter of fact, the walk was just here in Atlanta on Saturday, where they raised money to give to organizations for mammograms. So I would say to search your local area for, and you might even just put free mammograms, because I know they're all over. So again, or like your primary care physician or your provider, to find out, are there organizations out there that fund mammograms? Because there's more organizations out there, just like the Center for Black Women's Wellness.
And I want to pause right there for a moment, because sometimes individuals may be underinsured and may not have insurance. You don't know what to do. How am I going to pay for this? Well, during Delphine's journey with breast cancer discovery and her treatment, she had just been recently divorced. And at the time of her marriage, her insurance coverage was under her husband. Well, when she got divorced, she was uninsured. So to hear such devastating news that you've been diagnosed with cancer and you don't have insurance is a very frightening thing. But in her book, she talks about tapping into the resources that are there. And sometimes we don't know what we don't know. So if you're one of those individuals, or you know someone who may not have proper coverage and they're wondering, how am I going to take care of my health? There are things at the local, state, and federal level to provide you with assistance. And her book gives her specific journey, and she shares some resources that she was able to tap into. So I just encourage you to not be discouraged if you find yourself diagnosed with a devastating illness, and you're wondering, how am I going to care for myself? I don't have the means to do so. Again, Delphine was in a situation where she was recently divorced, no longer under the insurance coverage of her husband, and basically uninsured when she received the news. But throughout the entire course of her treatment, she was able to secure funding for her. And just think about what a relief that is, because it's already stressful enough. And we know the dangers of stress on our body. And when we're in a state of needing to recover, we want to be in a state of peace and harmony, so that we can allow our bodies to work with traditional and or non-traditional medicine, if that's your choice, to heal. And to have the added stress of financial worry is very unfortunate. That many individuals are facing in this country. But again, in her book, she shares with you some of the steps that she took to uncover local and state, as well as national federal resources that were available for her. And we'll continue on.
One of the things that really I believed helped me is a support system. And I'm so fortunate again, and so super blessed, because I've heard of stories where people do not have a support system. And I know that's what helped me. I had friends. My mother, though, she was like, we don't need any help. I'm going with you to all of your appointments. So, but I have friends on standby, like, if your mom doesn't want to go, I'll be there with you. And so support, and having a faith and believing in a higher being and believing in God that you can bring me through. Because there were days you're kind of like, this too shall pass, this too shall pass. Because what happens, first of all, once you have that diagnosis and you have surgery, and I had my surgery, and it's time for that, my first appointment with my oncologist. She was super duper African-American woman, just fantastic. But my first appointment with her, and she was telling me about triple negative, and there at the time, because think about it, we're talking about 8 years, so there's probably way more protocols now for triple negative breast cancer. But in my case, you didn't really hear about it. Like, I had never heard of triple negative breast cancer, but since my diagnosis, I have met so many other women, and most of them are women of color. Like, triple negative breast cancer, for whatever reason, not that other nationalities don't get it, but a high proportion of them are African American women. So I've come across so many women with triple negative. But when she talked to me and she was explaining to me, we're going to put you on 2 different regimens of drugs. And she said, you'll lose your hair. And at the point, now, of course, my hair is short right now, but I had very long locks that went down to my back, or if I wanted to wrap them on top of my head, I've always had hair, always had long hair. And I looked at her, I was like, can you give me that percentage of hair, 90%, 80%? She was like 100%. I was like, dang, that was really getting to me. But again, I'm thinking, okay, hair, life. Okay, I choose life. I choose life. And so the other thing, once I had my very first appointment, before you do chemo, they have to do your vitals and they do blood work. Every time before I did it, they do blood work. And why is that? Because once you start taking chemotherapy, it attacks your white blood cells. And not only your white blood cells, but different things are going on in your body. And again, things have changed. Every time I had chemo, the next day I would have to come back and get a Neulasta shot in my stomach. Well, guess what? Now after you do chemo, they give you a little Neulasta patch, and it knows when to release the medicine the next day. So I'm telling you, medicine just changes. And I believe, sometimes people will say, well, I don't believe in doctors and I don't go to doctors. Well, I believe God made people doctors and to help us through situations.
Well, we are at the end of Power of the Pen. I hope you enjoyed this special edition where we discussed the book written by Delphyne Lomax Taylor, Woman to Woman: Life Lessons Learned on a Journey to Marriage, Motherhood, Entrepreneurship, Divorce, Surviving Breast Cancer, and Finding New Love. I promise you, you will not be disappointed. It is so well written. She just invites you into her world, mentally, physically, spiritually, and emotionally. And it's also, I think, a wonderful book to give to someone who may need some encouragement along the way. This book is written for women in all facets of life, not just going through a medical issue, but in all phases of life. And it's also an inspiring book for our young women. So think about going to Amazon.com, go and get your copy or buy a copy for someone. Woman to Woman: Life's Lessons Learned on the Journey to Motherhood, Marriage, Motherhood, Entrepreneurship, Divorce. I want to invite any of you, if you're interested in being a guest on Power of the Pen. We would love to sit and talk with you and find out what book you've written. We're looking for books that are designed to inspire, uplift, challenge, and push the envelope for women, to help women elevate to the best and highest versions of themselves. These could be books written by women or are designed to inspire women. It may be a book that you've written, or perhaps it's a book that you've read that you want to share with the world. If that sounds like that's you, please reach out to me and we will welcome a conversation. I'll put the contact information here. You can contact me directly on all things social media. My handles are up above, LaWanna Bradford, or Instagram, the LaWanna Bradford. Please follow me. You can also contact me at LaWanna@BradfordGroupMTG.com or shoot me a DM. And I would love to speak with you about your book or a book that inspires you. And one of the things that I love about this show that I think makes us a little bit different is we don't just read the summary of the book. We actually read your book from cover to cover. We feel that that will enable us to best spotlight your written work or the book that you're presenting to inspire other people, but also spotlight you as the author. Again, I want to show this video about what you can do to ensure that your wellness is number one when it comes to breast cancer awareness. Thank you again for joining us for another special edition of Power of the Pen in celebration of Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Thank you so very much for joining us for another edition of Power of the Pen. Wish you well. Remember self-checks, get your mammograms, and remember that in life and in business, when your vision intersects with opportunity, success is inevitable. We look forward to seeing you next week at 6 p.m. for another edition of Power of the Pen.